strengthening the cordial relations between Sri Lanka and Pakistan. The two-day official visit of the 22nd Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, His Excellency Imran Khan, and the delegation to Sri Lanka took part from the 23rd to the 24th of February 2021. This was his first visit to Sri Lanka after assuming office. His Excellency Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, and the delegation arrived in Sri Lanka on the 23rd February and was received by Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa, Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
The court of order is in order and ready for your inspection, Your Excellency.
Thereafter, the Prime Minister of Pakistan was accorded a special guard of honor at the Bandaranaike International Airport by the Sri Lanka Army, followed by a 19-gun salute.
Honorable Imran Khan, he is the Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic. He is also the Chairman of the Pakistan.
The Prime Minister of Pakistan was accompanied by a high-level delegation including members of the cabinet and senior officials. Then the Prime Minister of Pakistan signed the visitor's book. Thereupon His Excellency Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, was escorted to Temple Trees by a special motorcade. A one-on-one meeting followed by the extended bilateral discussion was held between the Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa, Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, and His Excellency Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, at Temple Trees. The bilateral discussions covered the areas of cooperation between the two countries, including trade and investment, defense, higher education, science and technology, sports and youth, development cooperation, culture, tourism and aviation. Sri Lanka thanked Pakistan for the COVID-19 related assistance. Sri Lanka also welcomed the Pakistani offer to open Buddhist pilgrimage corridors for Sri Lankans in Taxila and Gandhara regions. Further, Sri Lanka side invited enhanced Pakistani investments in the manufacturing sector, particularly from the niche areas such as pharmaceuticals, textiles, construction material, sports goods, auto parts, gems and jewelry, surgical equipment and agri-food commodities from which Pakistan possesses expertise. Subsequently, a number of agreements and memorandum of understanding was signed in the presence of the two prime ministers to enhance bilateral cooperation between the two countries, and a joint press briefing was held with the participation of prime ministers.
His Excellency Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and his high-level delegation this evening. Prime Minister, you are not a stranger to the people of Sri Lanka. There are millions in this country who have admired you, your leadership on the cricket field as a captain of the Pakistan national team. Your country continues to be a valuable bilateral partner, and Sri Lanka considers Pakistan a close and genuine friend. Our people hold Pakistan in very high esteem. Pakistan was a friend who stood by and helped Sri Lanka in times of great need. We are grateful for their steadfast support, particularly during my presidency when we had to fight a dangerous terrorist organization that was fully neutralized in May 2009. During our bilateral discussions earlier this evening, the Prime Minister Imran Khan and I agreed to work closely towards enhancing our bilateral cooperation in the economic sector and a number of other areas including trade, investments, science, technology, defense and education. We also agreed to pursue the opportunities presented within the framework of the Pakistan-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement. Our talks also focused on important regional and international issues as well as the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. We further agreed to work towards increasing activities in the tourism and aviation sectors. Sri Lanka is grateful to Pakistan for agreeing to open the pilgrimage corridors for Sri Lanka to visit ancient Buddhist heritage sites in Pakistan. Another important decision we made is to restart parliamentary interaction through the Pakistan-Sri Lanka Parliamentary Friendship Groups. Sri Lanka believes that political stability and regional peace will be the key to achieve sustainable development, economic growth, and prosperity in South Asia. I admire Prime Minister Khan for his efforts in alleviating poverty and social economic disparity, which play an important part of our development agenda. We continue to work together to fight terrorism, religious fundamentalism, and extremism. In our talks, we agreed to continue with the current mechanism to curb illegal drug trafficking, arms smuggling, and other illegal activities by sharing information through the relevant agencies. We are also thankful to Pakistan for the partnership in the field of sports and assistance to enhance sports training facilities in the country. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister Imran Khan will preside over a business and investment forum, which is a strong multi-sector business delegation from Pakistan through direct interactions with the Sri Lankan counterparts. We expect to see a considerable increase in investments and business activities between our two countries. While thanking the Prime Minister Imran Khan and the delegation for undertaking this official visit to Sri Lanka, I am deeply grateful to you and for honoring Sri Lanka with your visit here. Thank you very much.
Mr. Prime Minister, let me just again thank you for inviting me and my delegation to Sri Lanka and extending your hospitality to us. I want to thank you. As you quite rightly said, I'm not a stranger to Sri Lanka. I came first time when I was just out of university, and when you were starting your political career, I was starting my cricketing career. And I have very fond memories since then of Sri Lanka. And I want to say that we watched Sri Lankan cricket team develop from a non-test playing status to eventually a team that went on to win the World Cup, and World Cup winning in Pakistan. So me and the cricketers who saw the evolution of the Sri Lankan cricket team, we felt good because it was a team from the subcontinent that emerged into a world-class cricket team. So I just wanted to mention that because that was my association with Sri Lanka until this visit of mine. This visit is to strengthen our bilateral relationship. It is to strengthen our trading ties. Pakistan is part of the Belt and Road Initiative of China. CPEC is one of its flagship program, and it means connectivity. And so I've asked my delegation here to find ways and means where we can enhance our trade and connectivity. And through CPEC, connectivity right up to Central Asia for Sri Lanka. We have also discussed other areas where we can enhance our trading ties, where Sri Lanka can benefit from Pakistan's connectivity in the future right up to Central Asia. And our trading ties will also mean that the two countries will get together, will come closer together. We shared a common problem of terrorism. Pakistan suffered 10 years of the worst kind of terrorism where we lost 70,000 people. And we know that Sri Lanka for 30 years combated terrorism. And I'm pleased to say that Pakistan played its part in helping Sri Lanka to resolve this problem, which was impeding your development and your growth. And a country which relies on tourism can never progress if there is terrorism. Can't have investment if there is terrorism, because that's what happened to Pakistan. In those 10 years, tourism dried up and hardly any investment came into Pakistan because of the threat of terrorism. So we share that common problem, and now we have faced another problem, which is the coronavirus. I know Sri Lanka has suffered like all those countries which depend upon tourism. And we discussed how the developed countries can help the developing world at this time. That the developed world right now should not be insular. They must realize that this is a problem that has afflicted everyone, but specifically it has hit the poor countries more, and the poor in all the countries much more. The poor have suffered everywhere, but the poor countries have suffered the most. So we have discussed how we can jointly work on the poor countries from getting debt relief. In Pakistan, we came up with the biggest stimulus package in our history, $8 billion. But when you compare the United States, the stimulus package in the United States is almost $3,000 billion. US has a population of 330 million. Pakistan's population is 220 million, 70% of the US. And yet the total amount of money we could give as a stimulus package because of those who suffered from the coronavirus was $8 billion compared to $3,000 billion in the US. So this is the discrepancy. And the coronavirus has exposed this huge inequality in the world. And that's why I feel that the world organizations like the United Nations should step in and look after the countries that have taken a real beating because of this coronavirus. Apart from that, Mr. Prime Minister, I want to invite you again in front of the media to Pakistan. And Pakistan has probably one of the greatest Buddhist heritage in the world. We recently discovered a sleeping Buddha, which is probably the biggest in the world. It's a 40 feet sleeping Buddha, because the north of Pakistan was the center of the Gandhara civilization, the ancient Buddhist civilization. So we are also going to invite people from Sri Lanka to come over, and we are planning a Buddhist trail where all the great shrines and places for those from the Buddhist community, the religion, can come over to our country. And of course, I start with inviting you most of all, Mr. Prime Minister. And thank you again for your hospitality.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for.
The Prime Minister of Pakistan also attended an official dinner hosted by the Honorable Mahinda Rajapaksa, Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. On the 24th of February, His Excellency Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, attended a one-on-one meeting with His Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa, President of Sri Lanka, followed by an extended bilateral discussion at the Presidential Secretariat. This was followed by the Trade and Investment Conference, which was held at the Shangri-La Hotel, Colombo. The Prime Minister of Pakistan presided over and addressed the Trade and Investment Conference in the presence of the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. Both the business sectors in Sri Lanka and Pakistan demonstrated unprecedented interest to forge closer cooperation. Higher-level participation from both countries expressed the aspiration to achieve the goal of the annual $1 billion trade. Afterwards, His Excellency Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, attended an interactive session over lunch hosted by the Honorable Namal Rajapaksa, Minister of Youth and Sports, in the presence of the Honorable Mahinda Abeyewardene, Speaker of Parliament of Sri Lanka. The official visit of His Excellency Imran Khan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, would assist in elevating the Pakistan-Sri Lanka relationship and enhancing the mutual cooperation in diverse fields.